Good evening and welcome to the first dedicated First Development Resources online event. My name is Tristan Potters and I am the CEO of First Development Resources. And this evening, the purpose of the event is basically to introduce FDR, the team that is driving the company forwards, and of course, take you through our portfolio of projects. As the title of the presentation suggests, at FDR, we are seeking major mineral discoveries in Australia. And over the next 15-20 minutes or so, I will take you through what is essentially our investment proposition ahead of our proposed UK listing scheduled for later this year. Just get the slide. So the presentation can be found on our website, firstdevelopmentresources.com. And I would urge anybody considering investing in FDR post our proposed admission to spend time to carefully review and read the disclaimer. So turning to the presentation, FDR is an exploration and development company with interests in Western Australia and Australia's Northern Territory. Across our portfolio, we are strategically targeting a suite of different metals, all of which have seen a surge in demand over recent months as the world continues its transition towards a cleaner, greener, more sustainable future. The strength of our portfolio and indeed our investment proposition was demonstrated earlier this summer when FDR completed its pre-IPO raise of £1.125 million. With support from our significant shareholder Power Metal Resources, we obtained the funds necessary to navigate the UK listing process, build our business, and develop the understanding of our projects which make up our current portfolio. Turning to our projects, FDR has 100% ownership of three highly prospective copper-gold projects, those being the Wallal, Ripon Hills and Braeside West projects in the Paterson province of Western Australia, and the Celta project in Australia's Northern Territory. Celta is located in an area considered highly prospective for uranium and rare earth element mineralization, with the potential for lithium, gold and base metal occurrences. Turning to the management team and board, over the past 12 months, we have assembled a fantastic team to deliver value for FDR's shareholders. The board and management are comprised of technical experts with significant experience developing exploration companies and seasoned professionals proficient in running UK-listed companies. Two of FDR's non-executive directors, Mike Moore and Craig Moulton, are based in Western Australia, and both of whom are currently running junior exploration companies. This is important as running exploration companies is not just about the high-profile operational aspects. It's also equally important that the team has a clear understanding of the processes and procedures which must be followed at all times to ensure that a company and its licenses remain in good standing. The strength of relationships and the ability to tap into strong networks such as Mike and Craig's is of real significance to FDR. We also have Gemma Cryan. Gemma brings a wealth of technical experience to the team, and UK-based investors may know Gemma from her days with Greatland Gold, where she was part of the team which made the world-class Havieron discovery. In addition to her time at Greatland, Gemma has held numerous senior technical roles with junior resource companies, as well as serving as an executive director at Starvest, which is a UK-based company supporting early-stage mineral exploration ventures. Based on the profiles of the board members, it is clear to see there is a technical bias within the team, and this is no accident, and it is important as mineral exploration is not easy. Having the experience of dealing with the challenges that we will very likely come across during our development, it is of critical importance as it means that the board can take decisive action when required and also take a measured approach to problem solving. The technical experience on the board, however, is balanced by the corporate governance and finance experience Luke Cairns and Ben Hodges bring. Luke is a highly experienced corporate finance professional with over 20 years working with small and medium-sized enterprises as both an advisor and a director. But importantly, Luke has also worked with an AIM-focused nominated advisor and broker, which will provide significant benefit to the business post-listing. In addition to myself, Ben Hodges is the other executive director on the board. In his capacity as FD, Ben will control the finance function. And in doing so, we'll draw on 25 years of career experience, which includes 15 years working in the extractive industries. Ben, along with the whole board, form a cohesive, highly functioning and driven team committed to developing FDR for the benefit of our shareholders. So why Australia? Well, look, quite simply, Australia is a fantastic place to do business. With strong government support throughout the states and territories for our industry, Australia has the physical infrastructure and regulatory framework to support a highly efficient resources sector. The strength of the regulatory framework in Western Australia was highlighted recently when the state was ranked #1 location globally in the Fraser Institute's Investment Attractiveness Index. Now, turning to our projects in Western Australia, in WA, FDR owns 3 highly prospective gold-copper projects in the prolific Paterson province. Despite being home to successful long-standing operations like Telfer and Nifty, the potential of the region has been heightened by the recent discoveries of Rio Tinto's Winu and, of course, Greatland Gold's Havieron discoveries. FDR's 100% owned Western Australian property package includes our flagship Wallal project, which is a 520 kilometre squared licence area, along with the Ripon Hills and Braeside West projects, which those 2 projects combined cover an area of almost 200 square kilometres. All of FDR's WA projects are located close to globally significant discoveries and have some noteworthy neighbours such as Rio Tinto and Rumble Resources. All of FDR's licence areas are easily accessible by existing infrastructure. And over the past 12 months, not only have we visited sites to get a better understanding of the ground, but we've also been working really hard to build strong relationships with landholders and key stakeholders to facilitate the efficient transition to on-ground exploration. So looking at the projects in a bit more detail, our flagship Wallal project, we are basically targeting large-scale mineral discoveries, and 3 highly prospective magnetic bullseye anomalies have been identified during the completion of our in-depth desktop review, which was completed earlier this year. The bullseye anomalies, which are on the screen, have been creatively named the Western Anomaly to the west, the Eastern Anomaly to the east, and the Border Anomaly, which straddles the border with the adjacent land held by Rio Tinto. Based on their geophysical response, all 3 anomalies are of significant size, ranging from a kilometre by a kilometre at the Border Anomaly to 5 kilometres by 5 kilometres at the Western Anomaly, and all of the anomalies provide compelling drill targets. During the completion of our review, our Perth-based geophysical consultants, Resource Potentials, analysed and reinterpreted all publicly available geological and geophysical data. The historical data was supplemented by our own 2D seismic survey, and the resulting data compilation enabled us to constrain the geometry and depth of our primary target, the Eastern Anomaly. And in doing so, we actually defined the geometry to one where it's comprised of 2 lobes, which we will be targeting in our Phase 1 diamond drilling program. We believe that these geophysical anomalies are of significance due to the similarities they share with Havieron in terms of their geophysical amplitude, and also because of their geological position on the edge of the Wallal embayment, which we believe is similar to that at Rio's Winu. All of the necessary permitting documentation has been approved to enable us to commence our Phase 1 diamond drilling program at Wallal immediately following completion of our proposed UK listing. The final approval was obtained in September this year following the completion of the prerequisite heritage clearance survey, which was completed over the Eastern and Border Anomaly drill targets. Following receipt of the final report, which we got back in October, the very next day, we actually deployed an earthworks contractor to prepare the drill pads and upgrade the existing access to facilitate the mobilisation of our drilling partner, DDH1 Drilling Limited. And again, DDH1 Drilling, they're a fantastic partner to have as part of the team. Not only are they hugely experienced in the Paterson, they were also the drillers who drilled the discovery holes at Havieron, so are very familiar with the ground conditions which we are likely to encounter. So to summarise, Wallal is ready to drill. and we intend to transition to drilling operations as soon as possible post-admission. Now, turning to our other projects in the Patterson, the Braeside West and Ripon Hill projects, they're located close to each other on the western and eastern limbs of the Oakover syncline, meaning they have similar geology in the eastern Pilbara region of Western Australia. And despite these projects being in an area historically known for manganese exploration and development, recent exploration by companies such as ASX-listed Rumble Resources has demonstrated the potential for gold and base metal mineralization in the area. So the work done by Rumble, they've basically delineated a regional scale porphyry to epithermal mineralized system, which extends for over 60 kilometers in strike, 8 kilometers in width, within which they've identified over 40 high priority gold and base metal targets. The targets which have been identified by Rumble are associated with deep-seated northwesterly trending structures. You can see some of those structures on the image on the slide. They're the dotted lines ranging from, well, top left to bottom right on the image there. And the desktop review, which, as I say, we've completed also for Braeside West and Ripon Hills, has suggested that demonstrated that these structures extend onto FDR's land at Braeside and Ripon Hills. And as a result, the company, we believe that these structures may be conduits for various styles of hydrothermal mineralization. The desktop review, which again was completed by Resource Potentials, has identified multiple targets for further investigation, a number of which are walk-up drill-ready targets. And we look forward to conducting further work on site when we can post our proposed UK listing. Now, turning to the Northern Territory, FDR's 100% owned CELTA project is located approximately 200 kilometers north of Alice Springs, in an area the Northern Territory government have declared prospective for uranium and rare earth element mineralization. The CELTA licenses cover a huge area of around 1,600 kilometers squared, and to put that into context, it's about the size of Greater London. And significantly, the CELTA license areas are located less than 70 kilometers north of Arafura Resources' Nolans project. And for those that don't know Arafura and Nolans, Nolans is the highest grade rare earth element deposit in Australia. In addition to the uranium and rare earth elements, the region is also known to host lithium, cesium, tantalum, or LCT pegmatites, which also provide another compelling potential target for FDR. So like FDR's projects in Western Australia, CELTA is located in an area which has seen a significant amount of recent exploration activity by companies who are listed on the slide on the screen now, including IGO, Prodigy Gold, and Megawatt Lithium and Battery Metals. The rush of explorers come into the area hoping to replicate Arafura's success has resulted in the development of infrastructure necessary to support exploration. And in response to this, government agencies such as the Northern Territory Geological Survey have been seeking to establish stronger links with industry and identify ways to support the resources sector, and particularly the junior exploration space, by offering grants to assist with early stage exploration programs. Obviously, FDR is actively looking to benefit from these schemes and has already established strong relationships with key stakeholders. Arafura's success has been heightened further by the recent signing of 2 supply agreements, one with the car manufacturer Hyundai and also with GE Renewables for the delivery of battery metals. This is of particular significance to FDR as the geology which underpins our CELTA project is postulated to be compositionally similar to that seen at Nolans, and again, based on the in-depth desktop review completed earlier this year, the CELTA project is interpreted to sit on a radiometric trend, which links the ground held by FDR down through Megawatt and under Arafura to the south. So the in-depth desktop review analysed all publicly available geological, geophysical, and in the case of CELTA, geochemical data. And this included a historical geochemical data set which reported pan-concentrated total rare earth element results exceeding 16,000 parts per million. Now, this is of significance because typically anything over 600 parts per million is considered anomalous. Upon completion of the review, multiple targets were identified for further investigation, and that included 4 separate uranium targets, which are the yellow boxes you can see on the screen, and 4 separate rare earth element targets, which are the blue boxes on the screen associated with those high or anomalous total rare earth element geochemical samples. Now, subsequent reconnaissance on site completed by the company has also confirmed the presence of pegmatite, pervasive pegmatite actually outcropping throughout the area. And we believe that this pegmatite has the potential to host lithium. We have completed some additional geochemical sampling, and although we haven't been able to isolate a Goldilocks zone as yet, the results that we have got back do support our hypothesis that the area is dominated by a zoned pegmatite system. Following our proposed listing, the company planned to rapidly deploy a team to site to conduct a high-impact, systematic sampling campaign, targeting multiple of the targets identified for uranium, for rare earths, and for lithium with the potential in the pegmatites, and refine these initial targets up to a drill-ready status. So in summary, with multiple targets identified with the potential to host metals in global demand, CELTA without doubt presents a significant opportunity for FDR, and one which we hope to develop aggressively post our proposed admission. So, as this slide on screen hopefully demonstrates, it's basically an indicative work program post-listing. What it demonstrates is that First Development Resources is not a lifestyle company. We are focused on making a significant discovery. As the slide suggests, we plan to deploy capital across our portfolio and work up multiple targets simultaneously. This high-impact approach not only demonstrates our confidence in the portfolio and the work that we've done, but it also will ensure tangible news flow for investors following listing as we hit the ground running and start to develop all of our projects. So in summary, as we've discussed earlier in tonight's presentation, exploration, it's not easy, and there is certainly no guarantee of success. However, over the past 12 months or so, we have been working really hard to work up what were initially conceptual targets to the point at which they are today, which is in many cases drill-ready targets. We are located in a supportive jurisdiction in areas with a proven track record of discovery, and we are being led by a team dedicated of making a significant discovery ourselves. We can't wait to get started on the site, across the sites, and we look forward to providing further updates in due course. And with that, I'm very happy to take any questions people may have. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Tristan. The point of this evening was to take investors through the proposition at First Development Resources, and also not just to engage with those that are familiar with the story through Powermetal or otherwise, but also to open out the story to a wider audience as you are in the final stages of this planned IPO listing in London. We've had quite a few questions through. I am the questioner for the evening. I'm sorry about that, everyone, but you know, I was here. So we'll get cracking. As a UK-based business, what team and infrastructure have you assembled in Australia to support the exploration activities, including the imminent drill program at Wallal?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. That's a great question to kick off with. And look, it's absolutely first pointing out that clearly being based 10,000 miles away here in the UK, it's not an ideal scenario to run a listed company in Australia. So in order to deal with that, we have assembled a fantastic team. As I've discussed in the presentation, we have two directors who are based in Perth, in Craig Moulton and Mike Moore. And again, as I mentioned, Craig and Mike are both running junior exploration companies. So those two guys have an incredible network of support which we can tap into to benefit FDR. And obviously, they have a really good understanding of what it takes to run these companies on a daily basis. Supporting the directors, we've also recently hired an exploration manager, Paul Frawley. Paul is exceptionally experienced in exploration and geology in Australia, but also in other jurisdictions around the world. Very familiar with the rocks that we're exploring within the project areas, and is managing our day-to-day interests. Beyond that, we've also established exceptionally strong relationships with all of our stakeholders, particularly the landholders and the traditional owners across our projects, but and also the other stakeholders, which include the advisor groups. So people like the in-country legal teams, the accountants, the tenement managers. It's all really important that we have a strong team that we can rely on and trust to assist us on a daily basis in Australia. So I would say we've got a great team that's geared up to allow us to hit the ground running immediately post-listing.
Fantastic. I mean, I suppose we've all got used to hub and spoke operations, given the COVID disruptions over the last few years, and it's taught us how to do this kind of business better at distance. But there is a question here. When is your next trip to Australia, and how often do you think you will be visiting typically going forward?
Yeah, so my next trip actually is over Christmas. The intention is to be there as soon as possible once we transition into an operational phase. It's obviously also good just to maintain contact with the team in country, and Christmas is as good a time as any to get out there. I have been already twice this year, initially on a reconnaissance trip for a couple of weeks. We then spent a month in country with members of the board and senior management to basically get those guys familiar with our projects in advance of our listing. We will try to get out as often as necessary, but yeah, as often as necessary, really, Paul.
Okay. Well, it's not a bad place to go to, in fairness. It has to be said. Not challenging at all, in fact. But how challenging? Sorry, that was a good link. How challenging is it to work on exploration in Australia, in the regions in which you intend to operate?
Yeah, look, exploration in any jurisdiction is challenging, right? As was highlighted in the presentation this evening. That being said, Australia is a fantastic jurisdiction. As a nation, it is well geared towards our industry with the necessary infrastructure and regulatory frameworks which can really support what we're trying to do. We're really lucky that all of our projects are located in areas where there is a strong logistical infrastructure in place from other explorers and mining operations, and we're also located very close to existing access. So, look, it is a challenge. There are always going to be challenges that we're going to come across, but like we did through the pre-IPO and into the listing, we've tried to establish a team which can help us negotiate those challenges, and I think that's demonstrated really keenly by the fact that we've partnered with DDH1 Drilling Limited as our drilling partner. Well, initially, those guys have huge experience in the Patterson, and are without doubt one of the best contractors that we could use to assist us drilling the holes at Wallal.
Right, and they were involved, I think, in the Havieron.
That's right. Yeah, that's right, Paul.
Yeah. How can we forget that one? Okay, so great question. I get this. Do you intend to look at further asset acquisitions after a successful IPO?
Absolutely. Obviously, we're very confident in the quality of the portfolio which we've assembled, and obviously which we're taking to market. Great projects in great jurisdictions, but companies, like FDR, we can't stand still. We've got to go after more opportunities, and that's exactly what we intend to do. We've got a technical board which is ideal for quickly assessing and making decisions on potential acquisitions or joint ventures, or however potential partnerships may play out in the future. But as I say, we don't want to sit still. We want to develop and grow immediately.
Okay, so speaking of the board has been put together over recent months and, well, a year or so, really, I suppose. How's it gelling? How's it working? What are you finding as you brought these different people together? Is it working well?
No, that is a good question, Paul, because look, the strength of a business is only as good as the team that is running it. And I've been certainly not surprised, but I've been humbled and blown away actually by the way that the board as a collective has worked together to not just navigate the challenges that are associated with a UK listing, but just their commitment, which goes above and beyond what they're technically contracted to do with FDR. In terms of their experience and guidance, they've been a huge help to me, and I know that going forwards they're going to be. They're a great team. We get on well, we gel well together. Some of us have had the pleasure of spending countless hours driving through the Australian outback on the site visit, and we all survived that journey, and we look forward to the next one.
Yeah, you sent us some good pictures from Australia. I'd like to thank you for that when I was stuck in the office here. Okay, so when did you join the FDR team? And how would you sum up progress made by FDR since you joined?
Do you know what? It's actually just over 12 months ago when I joined Power and the FDR team. Although it seems to have flown by in what feels like a matter of days rather than over a year now. When I joined FDR, we were at the start of the journey. I was brought in specifically to take FDR forwards, and when I joined, I came because of the strength of the portfolio that was starting to come together. Yes, it was early stage, but over the past 12 months, we've taken those conceptual targets and we've actually done a huge amount of work to bring them up the curve of understanding to a point where at Wallal, we are ready to drill. At Celta, we've got multiple targets identified for further investigation, and we're ready to send a team out to site to get that worked up. And equally at Braeside West and Ripon Hills, again, we've completed the desktop reviews as we've done at all the projects to get to a point where we've got targets that we can go after immediately post listing. So I'd say that we've taken things on the journey to a point where we are an oven ready company basically, and the IPO or our proposed IPO will enable us to take that next decisive step forwards and start doing some really interesting and what I hope will be successful exploration.
Fantastic. I've got that noted down, curve of understanding. That will appear in a POW RNS before you know it. Anyway, right. Here's a great question, actually. What aspects of the projects have given you the most excitement?
Well, Paul, obviously, beyond just working with people like yourself, it's just been the whole journey has been for me a real thrill. Actually, I actually left a very stable job with a multinational mining company, not because I wasn't necessarily happy there, but it's because I missed the thrill of the chase that we get in the junior section of our industry. So really, just to step back into this dynamic world, which is it's fast paced, great decisions that have got to be taken in real time. It is, as I say, it is a thrill. But to see the way that the projects have evolved, as I've mentioned earlier, from this conceptual stage to being drill ready, the way that the team has come together, I think the real excitement is still to come, Paul. And we're on the precipice now of where we can take the step off and really enjoy the ride, because that's what we've been working towards, and that's what we ultimately want to get on with.
Great. Okay, so London has a number of Australian-focused exploration companies. What makes FDR stand out from the crowd?
That's a great question, and it's a question which every company should look to see how they compare with their peers. Ultimately, in our look as a listed company, and I think any executive on a listed company in any industry, our job is to sell our company, essentially sell our investment proposition. And I think that over the past 12 months, FDR has done a fantastic job of doing just that, albeit pre-IPO. We've certainly followed the model which Power have built, which is to actively market not just our proposition, but what we are about. I think people, when they look at FDR's website or look at some of the things that we've done through our social media channels, they'll see that we've spent the time to really communicate our story. And I think that that's really important, Paul, because certainly for investors or existing investors or particularly new investors, they have to be able to understand what we are about as a company. And if you look at the front page of the presentation we've gone through this evening, we are about making a significant discovery in Australia. I think beyond that, we've assembled a technical team which is fit for purpose for the job at hand, which is making a discovery and through exploration. So as I mentioned in the presentation, it's a technically biased team, but that's exactly what an exploration company should have driving it. But again, as I say, complemented by the corporate and finance professionalism that the other members of the team bring. What else does that? Well, effectively, we've got fantastic projects in great areas, large scale targets in areas with a proven track record of discovery, which we want to emulate. I think that basically sums us up, Paul. And I think the work that we've done and the work we are going to do will continue to make us stand out from the crowd.
Okay, great. I've got a nice personal question for you in a second, but first of all, Wallal is a deep undercover target. What work can you do and what have you done to increase your level of confidence? Can you kind of just go through that again? I know it was covered to a degree before, but what are the punch points? How have you been able to increase the level of assurance?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, Paul, and because we're going out to market with Wallal as one of our main focuses, so we have to have confidence that the work we've done is marketable and investable. When I first joined 12 months ago, Power had done a great job of bringing the project package together and working with third-party consultants to improve the understanding of these intriguing bullseye anomalies which had been identified on historical geophysical plans, essentially. So what we did was we've taken a multi-layered methodical approach to understanding the project packages across our portfolio, but particularly at Wallal, we've reprocessed all that historical data and reinterpreted it again with our geophysical consultants' resource potentials in Perth. We then supplemented that historical data with our own 2D seismic work to basically validate and also, I guess, provide another layer of understanding to these, as you mentioned, what are relatively quite deep undercover targets with no surface expression. So on the back of that work, we've been able to really constrain the depth to the Proterozoic, which we believe hosts these magnetic anomalies, but also constrain the geometry of particularly the eastern anomaly, which is our primary target. And what people will see if they go on the website is that we've got these two distinct lobes, which we'll be targeting with the phase 1 drilling campaign, which we hope to kick off immediately post-listing. Now, at this point, as we always say, we have to stress the fact that this is a geophysical target. We have done as much work as we possibly can. That's a huge investment by FDR in terms of improving our understanding to a point where, as I mentioned at the top of this question, we're going to the market on the strength of the understanding of the target. We now want to put the money immediately to work to drill it and test to see whether there's any mineralization there as well.
Okay. Now there's been a few questions about the timing of the planned IPO. We use planned because that's the word we have to use in these situations. And I know you can't be specific in terms of that question, but let me ask it another way. Hopefully, covering people's queries. How imminent is the planned IPO, assuming things go reasonably according to plan?
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could provide a definitive answer to that one myself, Paul. What I can tell people is that, look, we completed the pre-IPO back in the summer. In June, we made that announcement. And actually prior to that, but from that point onwards, we've been working very hard with a really engaged group of advisors to basically get to the point where we are right now, which is where multiple work streams are largely complete. People will have maybe seen that our brokers, SI Capital, released a note about a week ago now about the project. So in addition to working up all the necessary documentation to support the listing, we've equally been working with our brokers to work up our marketing documentation, which we will be using to discuss the proposition with prospective investors. There's a huge amount of work which goes into these things. It's certainly not easy. If I'd entered into the process with a head of hair, I would look like I do now. It's stressful. It can be frustrating at times, but we have got a great team. The whole advisor base has been I won't say a joy to work with, but not too far off. When you think about from getting the pre-IPO done less than 6 months ago to the point where we are now pretty much ready to go, it demonstrates how well the team's been working together, and I hope that going forward, post our proposed listing, the same advisors will keep us on the straight and narrow going forwards as well.
Fantastic. Okay, so personal question: how important is the success of this company to you on a personal level?
Great question, and I think it's a valid question when anyone's questioning the management of companies such as FDR. Look, the past 12 months, my entire focus has been on taking FDR to the point which we are at today, and I am fully committed to taking it beyond. It is a sacrifice, a lot of time spent away from the family, a lot of time late mornings, early mornings, late evenings. But I believe in the projects that we've got. I believe in the potential that they present. For me personally, look, I'm incentivized to make a discovery, and that is what I want to do. That's where I will see that uplift personally to me through my options and my own investment in FDR. But we've got to get to the point where we can actually realize the potential, and that's by getting the listing done and getting cracking with the exploration. But yeah, look, every job requires sacrifices, but I think exploration is such an industry which is so challenging. It's part and parcel of it, but it's a sacrifice that I'm fully prepared to make for FDR.
Okay, so if successful in the drill program at Wallal, would you envisage a joint venture to take the project forward? I have to say we've got similar question with regard to Celta. So, but let's deal with Wallal first.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. Look, I think it's always, you have to always be mindful of I guess the budgetary constraints, the technical constraints. I've already mentioned we've assembled a great team, and we've pulled together an exploration program which we hope can help us make a discovery. But these are big targets. If there was a way of taking them forwards with the help of a joint venture or another mechanism, look, you've got to look for help anywhere, in any shape and form that it comes. Obviously, in a way which is always going to be beneficial to our shareholders, but sometimes, if an opportunity is presented to you, you've got to at least explore it and look for the benefits that it may bring.
Okay, so same question for Celta. It's a large ground holding. It's got prospectivity for rare earths, uranium, lithium. Who knows what else as you move forward with work on the ground. You've talked about a systematic approach to exploration, but if you find something of interest with a project of that size and scale, particularly when referencing it as this does, Arafura Resources not too far away with their significant Nolans deposit that's in development effectively, then do you joint venture up?
So look, Celta's an interesting case. As you say, it's potentially a smorgasbord of metals that we potentially could tap into over there in the Northern Territory. But you've only got to look at any news broadcast, anything on social media. the hype around battery metals or alternative fuel sources is, it's clear and present. As I mentioned in the presentation, the world is pushing towards this cleaner, greener, more sustainable future, and it's the metals that the junior exploration space discover, which are essential to underpinning that transition. So, look, I would fully expect to receive inbounds the minute we make I won't say make a discovery, but the minute we start our next phase of strategic investigation or exploration at CELTA. I'm sure already people are looking. It's a great package of land in a great jurisdiction, and as you rightly pointed out, Paul, just 60 kilometers north of Australia's highest grade deposit of neodymium and praseodymium, rare earth battery metals, which are so essential to this future that we're all striving towards. So I'm sorry, I'm waffling a little bit on that answer, but I would fully expect that project, if it demonstrates the potential which we believe it does have, we'll be getting a call, I'm sure. And of course, we'll again, like Braeside, like Ripon Hills, we'll look to develop it in the most efficient way possible with the best outcome for our shareholders.
Okay, so you get this a lot, this question. What's your favorite project? And I suppose just to make that a little bit more answerable, so you don't show too much prejudice, then I know what you've been doing with some work recently from a project ranking perspective, in terms of discovery potential, shall we say, value on discovery. How would you rank the projects?
Yeah, that's right, Paul. I have been doing some project ranking and prioritizing, again, as part of our it's part of good practice, really, when you've got a portfolio of projects, knowing which projects to deploy capital to based on their attributes, but also in response to an ever-changing backdrop of market conditions and opportunity which may come along at any time, right? So the two things, project ranking and project prioritizing, are both quite different in some respects. However, through that process, look, Wallal is the number one priority, but the reason why it's number one isn't necessarily because of the same reasons that, for example, CELTA is number two. Wallal is interesting because of the success or recent success of companies like Greatland, because of the fact that we are listing in, or we intend to list, in London. It does present an intriguing opportunity for potential investors to get in at an early stage. So, that presents its own intriguing situation. However, when you look towards the CELTA project, with the multiple targets that we've already identified, and I guess the wealth of opportunity that project presents, that can also be you can look at the priorities in a slightly different way. But when you're consistent across the board between the projects, from a prioritizing perspective, right now it's Wallal, CELTA, then it's Braeside and Ripon Hills. But all of the projects, are all stand out in their own right? We've assembled a project package because of the strength of the opportunity that they present. Of course, we have to be strategic in how we deploy capital to I guess, see the maximum return possible for shareholders. But we fully intend to develop all of our projects to their, I guess, maximum capacity, and obviously supplement them going forwards with potential new opportunities.
Great. So it's a question about power, but how important do you think it is to have a strategic investor such as Power Metal Resources owning a large position in FDR after the listing?
Very important. Look, we are a new company coming to market. Power have built an incredible portfolio over the past 2 or 3 years. It's run by a great team of people who are very experienced in what we at Power FDR are looking to achieve. We having that support in the form of a significant shareholder hopefully will provide, where appropriate, the necessary counsel and support, where we can, and it's just, look, it provides a bit of a safety mechanism, or comfort blanket's probably the wrong word, but it's for me personally to be able to tap into trusted networks of people who I know have been through it and have had a track record of success. You know, it's who wouldn't want that support going forwards?
Okay. Well, you will get that support. I can add to that. I don't think you're going to need it, in fairness, very much at all. The proposition stands up for itself. Post-listing, there's been lots of talk about drill rigs rolling out and that kind of thing, and what your plans are. But can you just give us a brief overview of the first few months after the listing, what investors can look forward to?
Certainly. I think the key message is that we want to hit the ground running. Hopefully, I have articulated that through this evening's presentation and questions. I think part of I should have mentioned this in one of the earlier questions. What makes us stand out from the crowd is that as a business, we have a drill-ready target at Wallal, which is ready to go, you know, literally day one post-admission from our proposed listing. You know, we've done all the necessary work over the past several months to ensure that when we are in a position to deploy a drilling rig to site, we can do immediately, you know, which is so that's something which prospective investors can look out for. You know, tangible news flow coming shortly after admission. That's not just at Wallal. At Celta, you know, we want to also deploy a fairly aggressive exploration campaign to really work up these initial targets which have been identified through our desktop reviews and work them up ideally to a point where we get to another drill-ready status there. But also, you know, if depending on the magnitude of the raise, we would like to also develop up Ripon Hills and Braeside West, where, as I've already discussed, we have already identified, in some cases, walk-up ready drill targets. So the next 3 months, the 3 months, post listing will be full on. You know, we are putting the money to work. We are deploying it into the ground, as I keep saying, to give ourselves the best chance of making a discovery.
Okay, brilliant. That's the questions done. One thing, if investors have any further questions or queries, how can they reach the company and ask them?
Yep, great question. I think, again, similar to the model which Power Metal have developed, we want to be as available as we can be with anyone who's interested in FDR, but particularly our potential our shareholders. Best place to start is the info at firstdevelopmentresources.com. I monitor that email address on a daily basis. So I would suggest is the best way to get it in touch. You can even email myself at tristan.pottus@firstdevelopmentresources.com as well. But I'm always happy to answer any questions or queries that people may have. And
in terms of the website, I guess the people can go there and all the latest information about the business is loaded up to the site.
Yeah, absolutely. The website is live. It's populated with all of our updates and videos, which we try to push out as frequently as we can. But equally, not just the website, but through our social media channels as well, whether that be Twitter or LinkedIn. We do try to put ourselves out in to where we can pick up anyone who might want to listen to our story. So we are always available.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, Tristan. Useful Q&A and follow up if anyone wants to get in touch with the company, or if you want to talk to Power Metal about the First Development Resources opportunity. We're also open to answering any questions we can, but I would say that Tristan is the main man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks everyone for listening.